Today I'm sharing a really quick one-card video using the Stencils 360 tool from Penguin Palace Stamps. When this tool was released last year, it was only available from Penguin Palace in Canada, but now you can also get it from scrapbook.com as well as Simon Says Stamp, so now's a great time to take another look. I've been working with this tool for a while now, so I'm going to quickly review the basics and then I'm going to upgrade with some dimensional ink blending, movement, and masking. Let's get started. Here's a little refresher in case you forgot, or maybe you haven't seen this tool before. I'll link to my introduction video and Stencils 360 playlist below so you can see more if you want. It starts with a square plastic base with a circle cut from the center. I have mine taped down to a craft mat, centered vertically and off the edge at the bottom, so it's easier to get my fingers in underneath and pick up the various guides when I'm using them. The stencils turn around the center point, so paper placement is important if you want your design to be centered, and the tool comes with a number of these clear paper positioning guides for different sizes. I'm using the 7-inch square one today, and I lined up the arrow on the guide with the arrow on the base. Using a larger panel will allow me to choose the area I want on my A2 side folding card. I find it helpful to put down some repositionable tape so that my cardstock doesn't shift when I turn the stencils. Now right away I know I want my first sunflower to be off-center to the right, so I'm going to shift my cardstock a ½ inch to the left. Here's the 4-inch stencil from the Sacred Lotus set, and I've taped it to the stencil guide. I like to tape it from the back with lots of tape for two reasons. First, it holds the stencil really steady within the guide, and second, it prevents me from blending ink between the edge of the stencil and the guide. Other people do this part differently and turn only the stencil and not the guide, but I find this way to be sturdier and more precise for me. So now it's just a matter of blending the ink through the stencil and then turning it, lining up that line with the arrow with the angle you want. The base is designed with different shapes that give you different angles, and it means you're not trying to do any math. Okay, I've got my Sauna ink from Catherine Pooler Designs, along with a small blending brush from Altenew. I blend the ink through the stencil in a circular motion, going heavy in the center, which means it's heavy on the inside of both of the petals, and then as I make bigger circles, I lighten the pressure to the end of the petals. I come back in at the outside tips of the petals with a bit more pressure, and this is going to give them that look of curving up in the center. Here's a look at my first two petals, and you can see the range of shades you can get by just using one color. And it's easy to put the stencil back in place. I've done this before where I've changed the colors to make rainbow flowers, and it's important to clean off the stencil after each color change. Today I'm just using Sauna to make my sunflower, so I won't have to lift up the stencil each time. After I've blended the petals, I turn so that the line with the arrow is at the next square symbol. This will give me 15-degree angles and a nice full sunflower. Then I blend the next petals and I turn, and so on. Each time I'm doing that heavy in the center, lighter on the edges, and then coming back in with a little extra pressure on the outside of the petal tips. I've been really enjoying using brushes with stencils because I was finding my foam tools were getting damaged by the edges of the stencils, but of course this will work with any blending tools you have. I do find sometimes that the brushes can get saturated with ink, and then they become harder to work with. To fix that, I just blend off onto a microfiber towel to get rid of as much ink as I can. That seems to get them back into better shape. When I've done the full rotation, I use that little edge at the bottom to lift up the stencil guide. There's my first sunflower. I love how you can see every overlap of the petals, giving it a really geometric feel. This is the basic operation of this tool, and you could stop right here and make a card with this sunflower. You can't change where in the circle the stencil turns or where the image will end up, but you can change where on the paper your image will go. So now I'm going to step this up to a more advanced technique by masking the flower and moving the paper. Before I blend the second flower, I want to be able to mask some of that first flower so that it looks like it's on top or in front of the second one. Rather than masking the whole flower, I grabbed a stack of sticky notes and I traced the petal through the stencil. Then I cut through a bunch of them so that I'll have 5 or 6 masks, and I cut them out with sharp scissors. Next, I want my second flower in the bottom left corner of my cardstock, so I know that means I need to move my paper up and to the right. And it's okay to slide it under the base. As long as the base is clean, it won't damage the cardstock. I'm just not sure exactly how much to move it though, but that's easy to test by bringing the stencil back in to see where it will land. This covers too much, I think, so I moved the paper up and over a bit further, and this position gives me just a nice amount of overlap. I put the petal masks over the 5 or 6 petals that would overlap, and I found that you really want them right up at the edge to get a clean overlap that looks dimensional, so take your time getting them positioned correctly. Then you just put the stencil guide back in place and repeat the blending process, again adding that look of dimension by varying the pressure and coverage of your ink. Some of these petals are off the edge of my panel, so they won't need that extra coverage on the tips. Now here's the reveal. Once the masks are taken away, you can see that the lower flower looks like it's behind the upper flower. Masking is always magical, I think. I want to put my third flower up in the top left corner. When placing 3 items like this on a card, I want to form a triangle, and I don't want this third flower directly above the second one. I want it a little further to the left, and that means once again parts of the flower will be off the edge. This time I move the paper down and even further to the right, just sliding it under the base again. And again I figure out where my masks need to be and I put them down on those petals. And then there's the whole other round of ink blending before I finally remove those masks and I get the final reveal of my panel. Just before I move on to finish the card, I want to mention that I'm keeping those masks just stuck on one of the other stencils in the set that I don't use as much, so they'll be ready next time I want to make a card like this. For the flower centers, I grabbed a sponge dauber and some icing on the cake ink, and I just freehanded them. Again, my pressure was heavier in the center and I lightened up toward the edges. I love how this gives the edges almost a fuzzy look, where the brown and yellow inks start to blend. To finish off the card, I stamped a simple thanks sentiment from the Heartfelt Notes stamp set in the icing on the cake ink, using my Mini Misty. I also added some espresso jewels from Pink Fresh Studios, and I blended a bit of Fiesta blue ink around the edges. So whether you use this tool in the most basic way or you step it up a notch or two, the result is gorgeous cards with circle-based designs. I've linked my playlist here so you can check out some other things I've done with this tool. Thanks so much for watching. See you next time.